We met 2 years ago, a year ago. It was a project about privacy. It was a project about communicating in protected channels. It's a project about freedom and about the ability to share information. As you all know, in recent times, we're trying to put backdoors on iPhones, etc. This type of projects are very important. So we thought that what he was doing was very interesting and relevant. And now he's actually grown. He's got his own project, and we had Demonso now. Demonso is up and coming, and believe it or not, he met John here at the Hackmiami conference. Because that's one of the things that we like to do. We want to put the community together, and whatever helps you advance or further your projects, by all means, we're here to help you. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Eger right now, and he's going to introduce John. Right? So please a round of applause for Mr. Eger.
All right, so I'm going to say a few. Wow, the place is packed. It looks so much different when I'm looking this way. So first of all, as our Hackmiami executive board said, thank you very much for attending. It's an honor for me to be here yet again in another Hackmiami. The Hackmiami team is an amazing group of hackers and technologists and industry experts, and it is always a pleasure to be here. I'm going to say a few brief words to introduce our keynote speaker, just to set the stage and to kind of build up for what's going to be yet another amazing talk by Mr. John Mcafee. Okay. All right, I was told my mic etiquette is not appropriate yet. So, a few years back, I was in charge of American Express's security network, basically the portfolio architect on the internet and intranet side. So my job was architecting it, worrying about application security vulnerabilities, worrying about network intrusion, all that fun stuff. And I remember one day I was called into the office of my boss, one of the vice presidents of the company. And she said, well, she used my real name. She said, "Eric, sit down." I said, "Oh, okay, this is not good," because whenever a conversation starts with a VP, something's going to happen. She looked at me. She had these little spectacles she wore that kind of dangled off the end of her nose, and she kind of did one of these things and kind of stared above the spectacles. I never understood that. Why would you wear the spectacles if you're staring above them? I didn't ask. And she said, "Eric, how do you eat a mountain?" I said, "What?" I was thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? But I didn't actually say that. I'm like, preferably you don't. And of course, her eyes got a bit more beady, and she stared at me, and she had this very unhappy look on her face. And she said, "Eric, how do you eat a mountain?" And I thought for a second, I'm like, this has got to be some sort of test, and I'm right about to fail it. So I already got the job, so I was pretty cool on that front. But I shrugged my shoulders and I said, "I don't know." And she said, "One bite at a time." In an era where, especially the current generation and society in general, expects instant gratification, most things, if not all, that are worth something require great time, patience, and sacrifice. And that hasn't changed with the internet era, the mobile space, or any of this need or desire or expectation of instant gratification. Such is our struggle with privacy, individual liberty, and personal freedoms. We, the people, have become afraid. Our country is divided more now than ever before. All you have to do is just look at some of the campaigns to know how divided we are as a nation. Even within given political parties, we're more divided now than ever before. Our stock markets have crashed. Our towers were destroyed. Our political system is absolutely out of control. Nothing gets done in Washington anymore, or so it seems to us. Our planet is warming. Our buildings have been bombed. Our embassy is destroyed. Citizens are being slaughtered abroad. And our troops are continuously in harm's way. We have become a people that are afraid. Phil Zimmerman, the creator of PGP, said that if privacy is outlawed, only outlaws will have privacy. But despite our differences, whether we're Democrats or Libertarians or Republicans, there's still one thing that unites us today more than anything else and has united us for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that is the desire to be free. Now, out of this fear, the government has used it to their advantage. We, the people, have been lied to and betrayed by our governments. There have been government cover-ups, warrantless wiretapping, and all you have to do is just read a news article to find out what's been hacked recently. Every day something else gets hacked. And it's not just civilian and publicly traded websites, but it's the Office of Personnel Management, the government's own websites. 21 plus million records were released. So not only the government can't even keep its own records secure. There's been creative interpretations of the law, the Patriot Act, diminishing privacy rights, the desire to pass SOPA and PIPA, which thank God were not passed, but then this little known law that got slipped in called CISA. So the people we've elected are doing terrible, terrible things that are diminishing our privacy and our liberty and our personal freedoms. There's now cameras with facial recognition that can track our every movement, not just in Europe, but here as well. Some of us live in Manhattan. Alex, you live in Manhattan. Cameras everywhere. And people have accepted this as the norm. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither. Benjamin Franklin said this. Now, this quote wasn't exactly specific to this talk, but close enough. What this means is that the government has used our fear to diminish our personal rights in the attempt to gain more and more control. Control that it cannot even use to protect its own websites and databases, let alone ours. CISA will fail because the government can't protect its OPM, let alone our personal records that are now being handed over to the government because companies want to avoid personal liability in the event that they get hacked. And by the way, they cannot stop us. We will win in the end. You cannot stop hackers. So nothing is safe, no matter if it's controlled by the government or a third party or an individual. So the government continues to claim this is in our best interest while we lose more and more and more. Now, we the people are to blame. This might hurt, this truth here, but we are the reason why we live in this dire state. It's our fault that we elected these politicians. It's our fault that we sit idly by and do nothing. It's our fault that they continue to pass these legislations and subvert and diminish our privacy rights. It's easy to blame the people in power when the fault lies with us. If we look to what Thomas Paine said a long time ago, he said it's the duty of the patriot to protect his country from its government. That means it's my duty and your duty and your duty and your duty. It's our responsibility to make sure that our country serves our needs and not the needs of the institution itself. Civic servant is somebody who's been elected to office or who has been granted a position of power within the government. Civic meaning of the person. A civic servant is somebody who serves the citizens, not the institution. We've lost that definition over the years. So we've failed in our civic duties, and we've let terrible, terrible things happen, and as a result, we are less free today than we ever have been before. But we the people are you, and me, and us. We are not yet beaten. It might look grim, it might look a bit devastating, it might look even sad, but we're not done yet. The most important lesson that we can learn as individuals is that the greatest enemy we will ever face is within. There is no competition to what we do in life except for ourselves. If we achieve our own goals, then nobody else matters. Thomas Jefferson said, "One person with courage is a majority. All it takes is one brave, courageous individual, one brave, courageous hacker to change the world, whether that's you or me or John Mcafee or anybody else in this room. It just takes that spark." But we are not just one. We are a hacker generation made up of thousands and tens of thousands of people. We are the silent majority that are slowly allowing our voice to be heard. You are the hacker generation. You are intelligent. You are powerful. You are in control. And the state of this union is bright. because of all of you. So we the people are united. We are united as the hacker generation. Together we will change the world. This is our new beginning. This is our return of the Jedi. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Do not wait for change to happen. Be that change." So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to introduce a man that I have great respect and admiration for. A true cybersecurity legend who's recently been made the CEO of John Mcafee Global Technologies. He's a dear personal friend of mine, and I believe the next President of the United States, Mr. John Mcafee.
The room got full. I just sorry about you folks standing at the back. Sit on the floor or something. I will bore you into tears shortly. I'd like to say that tomorrow, by the way, look out for the national press. I can't say much about it, but it will be the most profoundly disturbing news that will affect information security that you will have yet read. I unfortunately have been intimately involved with it. Do not worry, I'm not due to have imminent arrest, I hope so. Our host admonished you to, if you see something, say something. Listen, I have no problem with that, as long as what you say is an exclamation like, "Holy shit." I don't want to hear anybody going outside the room and saying, "Psst, call the FBI. That's not happening. I'm happy to be here. I've been on the campaign trail talking to the average American for a long time. It is nice to be able to talk to highly intelligent average Americans. I appreciate this tremendously. There's been nothing more disturbing to me than entering politics. I understand now why the youth of this country, which is primarily 99% of you guys, are so distressed. You know, I'm an old man, and I've seen a lot of distressing things, and yet I've seen nothing as distressing as what's happening in America today. With our loss of privacy, our loss of freedoms, intrusions into our lives by the NSA, the FBI, and all 14 government covert agencies, and further attempts by every agency within the government to intrude even further. The FBI, a couple of months ago, attempting to extort Apple into giving them a master key for every iPhone on the planet. I stepped into the middle of that fray. I had a debate on CNN with the mouthpiece from the FBI, who, by the way, was an extraordinarily, if anybody saw that interview, eloquent and polished individual. You know, I came on with ruffled hair and he hadn't shaved and a dirty shirt. And in 15 minutes, I had reduced him to a man going, "Well, maybe we can work together," which I knew would not happen. I am the most vocal, outspoken critic of the FBI and other U.S. agencies in the world. I knew they would not cooperate with me, to the point that they paid somebody else. I didn't do this, by the way. People think, Mcafee did crack it on. No, they never even called me. They paid $1.1 million to some other hacker in Russia to do it for them. Now think about this. This is how much I am disliked by our government, that to avoid having to even recognize that I exist, they would pay over $1 million to somebody else. So, in any case, and by the way, Tim Cook never even called me, or nobody at Apple would say thank you for your efforts. Nothing. Why? Because they're afraid. If you make a phone call to me, don't ever call me, by the way. You're going to be on a watch list instantly. And for the rest of your life, there will be someone with a briefcase following you around with a Stingray, or there will be a black car parked outside across the street with a Stingray. And every time you buy a new phone, within 20 seconds of turning it on, it will slow down to the point that it crawls. And you'll have 5 to 10 layers of spyware on there, and the rest of your life is over. So, again, if anybody gives you my phone number, burn it. That's it. So even just being here now, this close to me, and you guys on the front row, you're in deep shit. So this is my life. I've learned to live with it. By the way, in all sincerity, my phones do have multiple layers of spyware on them. I know about it. I was showing, in fact, last night I was Egypt, a very, very sophisticated thing that just popped up in my notifications saying, notice action required. Well, it's in notifications. What can I do? So I pushed the button. Then popped up a screen saying your account requires, your account has changed. You need to log in. Like, my account has changed. What does that mean? It morphed into an alternate universe? It changed its name. It got tired of John McAfee, and now it's Zaphod Eaglebrock. So, what does it mean? But I knew what it meant. It meant do not push the next button. And it took me forever to get it out of my notifications. Seriously, it ended up being attached to Google Play Services somehow. I found it out. So I went into Google Play Services and turned off notifications, and it went away. So to even bring it back last night, the guys were all around me. I had to go and turn off the phone after I turned notifications back on, turn the phone back on, which would then reload the malware, and then it popped back up, and I showed you guys what it did. So it's getting extraordinarily sophisticated. So my phones are just a layer after layer after layer of spyware. I mean, it gets comical. If you hit factory reset, you've got 5 different spyware programs all trying to compete to intercept that factory reset and pretend to do a factory reset. So anyway, that's the state that I'm in. So everything in my life is disinformation. I mean, everything I do on a smartphone. If you want to have a real conversation, I have to use a dumb phone or borrow a random stranger's phone on the street. I can't borrow my friend's phones because yours is hacked too. Sorry. And it reaches the point that I'm no longer sure what's real. I mean, did I really have 2 tons of cocaine delivered to the port of Los Angeles? Or was I just fucking with the DEA? Which one was it? I don't know. So, you laugh. I really did that. I'm serious, I did. And that actually involved a friend of mine who was coming from Canada, which unfortunately someone alerted him before he came, and he canceled his trip. It was I play big jokes on people. They would not have arrested him for more than a day. Anyway, this is my life. And it's also, unfortunately, your life. You just don't know about it. I'm aware of the madness in my life. But how many people here use Android versus Apple? Android first, I'm just curious. Okay, Apple, iPhone, half and half. It really doesn't matter, by the way. I'd like to tell you, it's all the same. How many people have downloaded more than 10 apps? How many have read all the permissions in every app you've downloaded? Okay, there's a minority for you. What do we all do? Okay, we like the app. A friend has it. It's a game or something else, so we download it. And there's maybe page after page of permissions. It says decline or accept. When you push accept, it is a legal binding contract. Do you understand this? So if it's a Bible reading application that all it does is read Genesis to you at night or Leviticus or whatever chapter you want to read, that's all it's doing. So it's accessing your speaker, but simultaneously asking permission to read your emails, your text messages, to turn on the camera and the microphone. And to make phone calls at your cost, and to connect up to whatever Wi-Fi it chooses, then you should ask, geez, what's that all about? Well, it's about this. Nothing in life is free. Nothing. My parents told me that. Did they not tell that to you guys? Yet how many of you actually paid for any of these apps? They're all free. Well, no, they're not. There's no such thing as a free app. If you've downloaded something and it's free and it's useful, you guys are coders. You know what it costs to develop a massive application, a huge game app, which is fun, with 400 levels. Well, that's not cheap. It might cost you $1 million or more. And they're giving it to you for free. No, they're not. Get real. What you're paying, the price is your privacy. If you think they're not listening to you, watching you, and by the way, they're listening. Let me tell you the trick that they use, both in iPhone and in Android. You can just talk. You can push a button and start talking. What happens? That's translated into text. Now, if I were to try to listen to you and create a voice file, my God, what you said throughout the day would be enormous and could not be transmitted across even the fastest internet connection. But if I connect up to, what's it called? I don't use iPhone. What's it called? Siri. right? If I connect up to Siri on Apple, on the iPhone, it gives me a text file of what you say. Good Lord, I can hear what you say and all of your friends all day long and transmit it in 4 seconds. Literally. So that's the things these apps are doing. They're becoming very sophisticated. They're listening to you while understanding the limitations of our communication systems. So they're using what they can to still listen to you. Now, we all know what happens when you're dictating and Siri or the equivalent on Android start throwing in specious words. So they have to deal with that as well. But, that's still not bad, is it? It's happening to all of you. Please understand this. If you've downloaded 10 apps, I want you afterwards to sit down, go into your application manager, and look at the permissions that you have granted. You will be shocked because everybody said, no, I don't look at permissions. I just go yes. Why? Because they're going to take me 25 seconds to read that. That's 25 seconds out of my life I cannot spare. Isn't this why? Seriously. You don't want to read them because it takes too much time. Well, I tell you what, the amount of time that it has stolen from your lives is incalculable. You must understand this. So I'm not up here alone. I'm just totally aware of the tragic nature of my privacy and make fun of it and enjoy displaying it to my friends. Like last night, we sat around for an hour discussing, my God, how did that happen? Well, no. But I know it happened. You don't know it's happened. And it has happened to you. I promise you. Not to the extent that it happens to me. As I said, wherever I go, there are people with suitcases. I don't know which one of you has it in here, with a stingray inside it. No, I'll find you before you leave. No problem. Well, sit down. Or when I'm traveling, there's a black car, 2, 3, or 4 cars behind me. Odd people on street corners with little gadgets sticking out of their hat or backpack or what have you. This is my role. Because not only am I the most outspoken critic of the FBI and the NSA, my life has been a life that no one within the FBI or NSA would ignore. Can you imagine someone in the FBI going, hey, get someone here, Mr. Smith. So what's happening with John Mcafee? You go, John Mcafee? I don't know. Who is he? You're fired. Bring me someone else. No, seriously. Okay, I've been accused of running the largest meth lab in Central America. Think about it. What white man would survive running a meth lab in Central America? If I were going to do that, I would choose Kansas City or Colorado. Right? I might have some chance of surviving. But in Central America? The Sinaloa cartel would go, no, that can't be right. Don't give me bullshit. And they go, no, he's down here by the river, There's a massive compound with armed guards. No. Bring me his head. So, that's what would happen. So, no, I'm not that stupid. I'm a foolish student. Obviously, else I wouldn't be in the trouble that I'm in. But I am not that stupid. So anyway, I was accused of that. Being involved in spying on an entire government and police, being returned to America from Guatemala, being extradited, being escorted off the plane by 50 armed Homeland Security agents. Good God, if the FBI is not watching me, then what do we need the FBI for? So that's happening. But let's get down to business. What do you want me to talk about? Let's get a subject. Anybody. Anything. Because I'm tired of thinking. All right? Yes, sir.
What do you recommend we do?
There we go. What do I recommend you do? Well, it depends on what you're willing to do. My greatest recommendation would be abandon all and hide in a cave for 10 years. That probably would be my most generous and heartfelt recommendation, but you're not going to do that. So, well, first and foremost, I already said, all of you after this, and I mean this, go and look at what you've already done that you refused to look at while you were doing it. Now think about it. It's just like you're at a party, somebody gives you a needle filled with a dark greenish looking substance and say, shoot up this man. And you go, yeah, of course. No, you at least go, well, I don't know. What is it? What does it do? You might even look at him. Have you turned into a lizard yet? No, okay, maybe I'll do it. No, you haven't even done that. You just downloaded it and pressed accept. You're smart people. I know you are, else you would not be in this room. And yet, you have done this. You have done this, all of you. So, stop doing it. Today. It can't take more than 20 seconds to read 20 bullets. It can't. I know you're good readers because you're coders. Or you know coders who can read it for you. So, it doesn't matter. Do it. You're going to be shocked. Shocked. Utterly shocked. A flashlight application, what does it need? It needs to turn on the flash. And read your text messages. And your contacts. And make calls. And you'll see, by the way, in Android, in red, under the thing that they're asking for, it says, this may cost you money. A flashlight app, it's free, but it's going to cost me money. Doing what? Making phone calls to foreign countries. So, yes, read these things. Ask yourself, isn't that odd? And if it is odd, then what the hell is happening? This information to a third party, which we refuse to name because we don't legally have to. Just so we're going to give it to somebody. Duh, what does that mean? Well, let's get real. We have brains. What it means is you are being spied on. And what they are learning about you is being sold to somebody else. How do you think they're making this money? We're going to spend $1 million. I got a board of directors. God, I have an idea, boss. And it's going to cost us a couple $1 million. We're going to build this awesome game application. We're going to do it in Uzbekistan. But we're going to make it in English and have it all polished. And inside it, we're going to watch, listen to, monitor. We're going to read emails. We're going to find out their credit card information, their bank accounts. We're going to have every password that they have. And we figured it out. We can make $400 billion by selling all this information if we can just get 100 million people to download it. Well, please look at the stats on Google Play. How many apps have 100 million users? Thousands. How many of those have excessive permissions? All of them. So, do that. That's number one. Number two, be aware. Not just here, but here. That our government truly wants to know everything about you. Because what is it? What is the foundation stone of dictatorship? It isn't power. It's knowledge. If every dictator knew everything about every person, every citizen, then what would happen? They would have absolute control. Because I know where you are, what you're doing, what you're thinking, who your friends are, and what you're saying to them, what your likes and dislikes are. I own your ass. I do. And this is what our government is trying to do in an insidious fashion, which perhaps even they do not understand the implications of. Here's a bunch of separate people running around, the head of the FBI going, well, I can have twice as many agents if I had twice as much information. So let's see if we can twist Apple's arm, get a master key there, and if we do that, we have a court precedent. We'll just walk into the Google's office and say, here, give me a master key for every Android. Right? Not thinking that, where is this headed? Where is this leading us? It is leading us into the middle of 1984. George Orwell's prophetic, dark, horrifying novel of the future, written in 1945 or 1948, of the world he anticipated some 40 years in the distance. Well, we are nearing that in reality today. A world where nothing was unknown. And if everything is known, you then get to create the truth, do you not? Which is what happened in that novel. The government would change the truth from day to day and wipe out all records of historic truth. Now, in George Orwell's novel, prior to the invention of the computer and the digital age, that required millions of people burning pieces of paper. What does it take today? Click of a mouse. File gone. Because that becomes the truth. Not what you're doing, but what the digital data shadows of you doing. That becomes the reality. And I can manipulate that reality in any way that I choose. Typing a couple of sequence of characters, clicking a mouse and deleting a file. inverting a file, flipping things around, reality then gets to be manipulated because all we know of it is what we access of it through this thing here. When we Google something, what's the word perfidy mean? Well, Google it and find out. Well, if I control perfidy, I control the truth of it. And if I control the information about you, then I control the truth of you. Whether your reality matches that truth or not does not matter, because really, it's your word against the mountain of reality of digital information. This is where we're headed. And who can stop this? Only one person. You. Nobody else. I can't. I'm having trouble dealing with just the me, all right? And already, one of the good things I hope I'm doing is I'm making our government bleed half to death through tracing down fantasies of my imagination, which I creatively manipulate through all of the things that they're watching me on. It gives me a sense of pride and something to do. I'm sorry? Yes, salted database. What else can you do at my age? I can't go out and take up arms like Rambo and storm the White House. So instead, I just sit quietly in my living room and make the White House send agents to every corner of the earth looking for the mischievous things that they believe I am doing. So that's all I can do. But you can do more. You're younger, most of you. Actually, I think all of you. Is anybody here over 70? No, I am always the oldest person in the room. And as every year goes by, the certainty of that gets greater. So yeah, I am the oldest person here. But you guys, your children almost. Active, powerful, brilliant, with goals and dreams and hopes and an entire life ahead of you. Mine's all behind me. That's what's pushing me. The thing behind me, which is why I can get up here and say whatever I fucking want. Right? Yours is all ahead of you, pulling you into it. Do not go gently into that. Do not. Thank you very much.